We're a week and a half away from Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, and we just got a massive update on the Oklahoma website. A new black folder has just appeared, and once you go into it, you'll find a picture of Kendrick holding 2 discs, 2 CDs. One of them says Morale, the other one says Steppers, and we also get a visual of this red book that says Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by Kendrick Lamar. And of course, the first thing that we think of is that this album is going to be a double disc album.
That's going to be fantastic. What a way to announce it, by the way. And very mysterious rollout.
Yep.
But, going into the website was cool because it's your direct vessel for information. And I think that's what's awesome about it. But let's pay attention to this picture, all right? So look at the beautiful carpet in back. And it seems like Kendrick's sitting either in a therapist's office or maybe like a library. Those are the vibes that I'm getting off the bat from it. So even the book, pay attention to that. Do you think there's any substance or anything to go into when looking at that book in the picture?
I mean, do you think it's a real book, or do you think that
Imagine he releases that as a piece of merchandise next to it. But in all seriousness,
it would be cool if that's a book of rhymes. If that's everywhere that he just jotted down every line that he had, every lyric for the album, that would be pretty cool to see. But how do you feel about him dropping a double-sided album? Because he's never done it before, and I feel like in this new era, there's not too many artists that have really pulled it off.
That's very true. That's very true. Last one that was super prominent was Drake's Scorpion. I feel as if that was the last major release that had that double-sided effect. And going into it, it's quite interesting because maybe it's Kendrick wanting to return with so much material for the fans because he has taken a 5-year hiatus. So that's probably into effect. But I still do think there will be a concept knitted into this album.
Sure.
So think about that. When was the last time we got a double-sided album that had a concept knitted into the actual storyline itself? That's crazy.
You know what's funny is that there was a huge theory after Damn had came out, because Damn came out on a Good Friday.
Yes.
And then there was a theory of Nation being the second half of the album that people thought that was going to drop on the Monday, so it kind of symbolized the death of Kendrick that we kind of heard on the song Blood, and then his revival would have been on the album called Nation. Of course, that never happened. It was just a fan theory, but it's cool to see him actually doing this. And like you were saying, bro, after 5 years of not getting any music from him, the more the merrier at this point, because I know that it's going to be conceptual. I know that he's going to pull it off. But what's interesting, too, is that there's this theory on Reddit that I'm going to pull up right here.
This one's crazy, actually. And low-key makes sense. This theory genuinely makes sense because if you look at the way everything's kind of knitted together, this theory encompasses all media formats. And now looking at him showing off that exact, let's say, vibe within the picture itself, trying to, already portray a setting for you, you might be actually going into this theory. So let's hear it.
So Section 80 was, this is the actual start of the theory. Each Kendrick Lamar album seems to relate to different forms of entertainment and media. Mm-hmm. Section 80 being a book, since there's song titles like Chapter 6 and Chapter 10 that play into, the idea of it being a book.
And the campfire.
Good Kid, Mad City, on the album cover, it literally says a short film by Kendrick Lamar, and that felt like a movie as an album. To Pimp a Butterfly was an album that was kind of in the format of a poem, you could say, because you had that poem that was reoccurring from track to track. And then Damn was also kind of viewed as a magazine because the way the letters were spelled out on the cover reminded people of the same font that was used, let's say, for Time magazine. And now for Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, people are speculating that it might be a theater play type of format, which is interesting because even if you look at his set that day in Vegas, there were different portions of his performances that were split up into different acts.
Okay.
So maybe we're going to have 2 acts for this album, one of them being on that first disc for Mr. Morale, the second one being on the Big Steppers.
What's also cool about that is I kind of got some fan reception on that whole Day in Vegas show because I was going through our Twitter and looking at some old K-Dot tweets, and a lot of people did say that they enjoyed that as an experience watching it live because what it did was it creates anticipation for the sequencing of the album. So maybe there's going to be something knitted into the first portion, and then there's a transition point of the storyline within the second one.
For sure.
We were paying so much attention on the album title because Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, that also sounds like, let's say, a soul band from the 70s, and we were bringing that whole concept in. And within mainstream music at the moment, you do have acts like The Weeknd and Silk Sonic revisiting vintage sounds and sonics and putting modern interpretation on top of it. So is that going to be a play as well in the production within the album? I think there's so many cool possibilities to go through. And what's interesting is that, if you guys have been following NFR podcast, dude, how many fucking videos have we done so far on this album? There's already so much hype and so much different stuff to go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to go through the material.
It's going to be absolutely crazy. And I feel like Whenever there's a double-sided album that's going to be coming our way, I get the vibe that maybe stylistically there's going to be two different approaches from one to the next. So
Like a speaker box sort of vibe?
yeah, like I've said this in previous episodes, maybe one side is going to be more singing and the other side is going to be more hardcore rapping. I don't know. We'll have to see, but it would be cool to see him kind of branch out into another genre.
If that was the case, how would you like that?
I would
Because-
like it, but I do like we know Kendrick Lamar to be a rapper, and I do want a fucking rap album from him. But if it's divided in two and he can weave that together where there's more melodic and singing type performances, I would be really open to
And
that.
not only that, but I also think there's a strong point within that play because Kendrick's going to be able to like showcase different skills and different sets that he's been practicing over the past 5 years. Gives him some room to do that too. So that's what I also like about the double-sided album is now you're going to be really understanding what has Kendrick Lamar been working on for the past 5 years. So
Yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
exciting.
And let me ask you this: what do you think's next for this rollout? Do you think we're getting the single Friday? Like, do you think this is the only and last kind of image or update that we're gonna get until the album drops? Where's your head at?
Okay. I do think we're getting a single. I'm not sure if he's going to reveal the track list now because he kind of already told you the album format, and that's what like artists like to do when they reveal a track list, like, you know, with the features and everything beforehand. And I think he already did that with this photo. Like, you know, it's a double-sided album now. Go in and be entertained and be surprised. So I think that he drops the single, maybe album art, because that always happens too, and I think we're getting the album.
Maybe
That's
an
my
album
take.
trailer by PG Line because their visuals have
that's
been
true.
really nice. I
That's
feel
all,
like that's a
day
big.
free, absolutely.
I feel like that's a big possibility. And in terms of the single, don't forget that we had the website, oklama.com/the heart, where you had a bunch of folders all mixed around. Maybe the heart is in reference to the Heart Part 5. We'll have to see if that happens.
I think it is,
but
man. Why would he do
it has
that?
to be,
he
bro.
knows
it has
he
to
knows it's
exist for a fucking
absolutely.
reason at the end of the day. So we'll have to end up seeing what happens, but it's going to be super exciting to go through this entire Kendrick rollout with you guys. And if you guys have not subscribed already, please do so because we'll be keeping you guys updated with this entire rollout. And of course, we'll be doing an album review as soon as the album does drop. Not only that, but we're going to be doing a live album reaction with our entire community on Patreon the same very night that this album does come out. So check out the link in our description. We bump the album with our entire community, and we do these every week for new releases. So thank you guys so much for watching. It's Kendrick season, so brace yourselves. We'll catch you in the next one.